New at 5, the city of Stockbridge now says the investigation into its mayor started after staff raised some concerns about financial transactions involving city funds.
22-year-old Mayor Jayden Williams was in court this morning trying to have his mayoral privileges reinstated. Atlanta News First reporter Joshua Skinner has the latest in the quickly evolving story.
Less than a year after becoming the youngest mayor in the history of the city of Stockbridge, Mayor Jayden Williams had his mayoral privileges stripped. Today, a judge heard his case to get those privileges back.
It was a much different government setting than 22-year-old Mayor Jayden Williams is used to. An emergency hearing was held today, a week after the city of Stockbridge stripped Williams of his mayoral privileges and access to private areas, and 3 days after the city hired an independent investigator. In a statement released to Atlanta News First Friday evening, the city of Stockbridge listed numerous allegations against Williams, including the misuse of city funds and sexual misconduct. Mayor Pro Tem Elton Alexander told Atlanta News First on Tuesday that any misuse of tax dollars is cause for concern.
The city does not differentiate between how much, if it's a dollar. It's taxpayers' money, and we're supposed to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money.
Williams declined an interview request, directing us to his attorney, Gerald Griggs, who also declined a request for interview. But in November, Williams was more open about what Stockbridge residents could expect from him, promising accountability and transparency.
You have to be transparent with the people in order for them to elect you and get you voted in.
Williams requested his privileges be reinstated at the hearing this morning, but a technicality prevented it, with Judge Holly Veal ruling that Stockbridge City Council members' names be removed from the motion, asking Williams to refile.
In the meantime, Mayor Williams' administrative privileges are still stripped, which he argues disables the elected office of the mayor, which he then further added in his motion that the city charter does not authorize such an action. Reporting in Stockbridge, Joshua Skinner, Atlanta News First.